Welcome back to Make Me a Fan. I'm the Jag.
I'm Pete.
And today is a little bit different. Actually, it's not too different. It's pretty much the same because we're going to do the same damn thing we do every time, except we're doing it safely at home. Now,
you say he's in a box over on this side and I'm on the box over here on that side. So, yeah.
Yes, the Jag went out of town and was exposed to some new people. And so to be safe, we're keeping our distance and sheltering in place, but we're still bringing you some high quality entertainment. And so even though this is a little different, you know what's the same? It's Sunday. And you know what we do on Sunday, Pete?
Classic wrestling.
You damn right. Classic wrestling for the win. And this time, you, Encyclopedia, picked the match, and I have no idea what I'm in for. Please enlighten old Jag if you would.
For sure. So we've watched a lot of really great stuff, but I wanted to go a decade past where we were. So now we're going to the 1980s, and we're going to Starrcade. Actually, Starrcade 1983, the original one, the OG that beat WrestleMania to it, that scared Vince into going and asking probably a lot of interesting people for money so that he could pay for that first WrestleMania. This is the show that did it. This is Starrcade 1983, and we're going to watch the return match against Rowdy Piper and Greg Valentine in a dog collar match. So Piper previously lost the U.S. heavyweight title to Greg Valentine, and he busted his eardrum. Obviously, there's a lot on the line here. You know, Piper wants his revenge. So what do you think? What do you even remember? Do you even remember hearing about Starrcade? When was the first time you heard about Starrcade? Was it like in the mid-90s when like the Monday Night Wars were going on, or?
Look, 83, first of all, is 4 years old, okay? So that's a long freaking time ago. Secondly, you know, I don't remember hearing about Starrcade until probably the Monday Night Wars because people were trying to say that Starrcade was better than what was happening in WWE, and that was the big debate, you know, in the late 90s. So I didn't even really know Starrcade existed until late 90s during the Monday Night Wars, but I'd heard the name, and this is kind of weird, and I'm going to throw you a curveball here. I knew about Rowdy Piper because of the WWF and the freaking cartoon. You remember the Hulk Hogan cartoon that came on like Saturday mornings? Oh,
yeah, no, I have it on my home network. I have the entire series.
Oh, really?
Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, absolutely.
And Piper, if I remember correctly, I was pretty damn young. I think Piper was like the main bad guy of the show, right?
He was, yeah, him and Sheik and Koloff and yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
So I basically said I was going to, like, I decided I hated Rowdy Piper because he was the bad guy from the cartoon, and he was the bad guy pretty much in the E as well. You know, at Piper's Pit, he was a loudmouth guy. He talked a lot of trash. The funny thing about it, though, is that he didn't wrestle all that often.
He didn't. And at least in WWE, he didn't. And I don't know if, you know, his earlier years really led to it, but the 70s, he has some amazing stuff with Don Owen in Portland. Lots of stuff with Jim Crockett and then stuff in Mid-South. So he was all around in the 1980s and 70s. He hit the territories pretty hard.
We might have to do a Make Me a Fan of Piper because I don't have a whole lot of reference for his in-ring work, but I do remember Greg the Hammer Valentine. I don't think he was too great on the microphone, but he was intimidating in the ring. Did he have a figure four?
No, well, so he did use that as well as he was just a strong guy. He had a hammer attack that he would use, and there's a ton of moves. But he was that strong technical wrestler, much like like in the Attitude Era, we'd say like maybe like a Dean Malenko. That kind of level of technical skills. He was a technical wrestler, second generation. His father was also a professional wrestler. So, you know, for Greg, he had a lot of problems, you know, because, hey, daddy got you in or did this and that. So for him, he really had to let his skills prove that, hey, yes, my father was a wrestler and he was an amazing person, but I am my own independent wrestler myself.
Hell yeah, I like that. Well, I haven't seen a Piper match in a very long time. Starrcade 1983 feels like before time began. So you went deep into the racks for that one, dude, but we're going to watch it. And dog collar match, crazy. So same rules, right? You got to get pinned or submit or whatever, right? Yep. But it's just kind of no DQ, I guess.
Yeah, and they put you on like a 14, 15-foot dog chain and, you know, an actual like collar that you'd see like on a Rottweiler or whatever. So yeah, this is going to be some wild stuff, man. Like this would not, like today, they would have the red X all over the screen.
You're probably right. Time. All right, so we're going to watch this thing, and it's on the WWE Network. I'm going to put a link in the description. I'll probably put a link in the first comment, but the Encyclopedia is going to hit the play button when? Right
about now.
All right, so we just finished Greg the Hammer Valentine. Was he even the Hammer at this point? I don't think he was the Hammer.
Either way, it's Greg Valentine and Roddy Piper in a bloody knockdown drag-out fight that honestly took years off of both guys' career, probably took a decade off of each guy's career.
Oh, for sure. Dude, okay, first things first. When we're watching this match, I'm doing a little research, right? I'm doing a little digging, and it seems like, according to Greg Valentine, that this whole idea was Piper's idea, the whole match, the whole stipulation. If I remember, if I'm not wrong, and please correct me if I am, this is the first time that anybody had ever done a dog collar match. Is that true?
Right, and you heard Gordon Soley selling it as well, where they were, you know, he's like, oh, Jim Crockett wouldn't sign it, but like they actually forced their way into making this happen just because that this was a big enough grudge that the way the last match ended, especially an injury and losing his title, Piper felt like that this is the only way to extract even a modicum of revenge against Greg the Hammer Valentine.
And they were selling it too, because apparently, you know, in the previous match, Greg Valentine had hit him with the ring bell and caused serious, like, long-term ear damage, right? 50% hearing loss or something, right?
Mm-hmm. And then this match pretty much finished off the rest of that hearing in that ear for Piper. Not to say that it didn't return, it did, but it was heavily damaged after that. So, like, you would just never talk to him on that side of the body because it's just kind of like the teacher from Charlie Brown.
Oh, goodness. And that's crazy. Now, look, the things I remember most about Roddy Piper are things that he did outside of the ring, okay? I'm talking about, like, his appearance on Bill Maher's show when he, like, drops trowel to show off the bruises, you know? The thing with Goldust, which was a match, I guess, but it was more of a brawl, you know what I mean? Of course, Piper's Pit, all the interview segments and all the trash talk. So I see Piper as more of a personality and not as much of a wrestler, but he wrestled his tail off in this match.
He sure as hell did. This was a crazy match. I love the way they were using the chain as a weapon, especially even in the beginning and when they were doing the stuff with the chain on the neck and showing, you know, who's in control of this, and then them just whipping each other with those chains. Dude, wild match. People, if you didn't watch this, you missed out on a true classic that should be studied by fans of wrestling and wrestlers themselves, because there's volumes to be written about this match, and I imagine there's already been volumes that have been written just because this is one of those matches.
Well, I wrote down a couple notes, of course, while we're watching it, and I put brutal match, looked intense, and they weren't afraid to look weak. But now I'm thinking maybe weak isn't the right word. I'll say they weren't afraid to look vulnerable, okay? Because vulnerability is something that I feel like a lot of guys in wrestling today don't necessarily want to show because they don't want to be looked at as weaker or booked weaker or to, you know, lose their spot, if you will. But these guys were taking bumps, and not huge crazy bumps. There were a couple crazy ones, okay? But they were just fighting. But a good right hand knocked you on your butt or knocked you stupid. These guys were stumbling around. They had their hands up. You know, in boxing, we call it Frankenstein or the mummy, right? Where you're like, oh, where the hell am I? Yeah. And so I'm like, yo, these guys are really selling it. And Piper's punches, some of those punches, like when he's battling out of the corner, he's throwing the jabs, those jabs look good. And they were hitting.
Yeah, he was a boxer.
Oh, yeah, he looks, I didn't know he was a boxer, but that you could tell the brother knew what he was doing, just the way he was throwing those jabs.
Well, because he, the first match on WrestleMania, he boxed Mr. T.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen that. We're gonna have to watch that. That's crazy.
Looks like the show's writing itself.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, the realism of it. Yeah, really. The realism of the match, I thought when they got outside the ring and Piper just kind of out of desperation just throws a chair at him, you know, and he just like, get out there.
Anything to get that upper hand, you know, that you have the baby. You clearly see the babyface is struggling to get any advantage at all. And we've talked about it before that face heat doesn't really exist, but there's people like Bret Hart. Like in this match, Piper got face heat, but that's okay because this is a fight and there's something on the line and the fans are behind Piper. So of course they want to see Piper beat up Valentine. So when Valentine gets that color right away and he just starts bleeding, I'm like, oh, God.
Crazy. And then what? Okay, look, people, we always want to treat the business with the utmost respect. However, we know that sometimes color comes around intentionally, or the easy way and the hard way, all right? And the blood from the ear just reeked of hard way to me. But am I wrong? Did I get suckered into that? No.
That was the eardrum got burst again in that match, and it was really bad for Piper.
It looked terrible. It looked horrendous. And I thought, like, son of a biscuit, this is no joke. I thought in the beginning, you know, when they introduced them, you know, and they show those old school graphics, like where the thing just like spins into frame and they're just like standing there. Yo, it's terrible, terrible. WWE has always had the production edge or the leg up when it comes to production over WCW, but this match was insane. Other thing I said is, listen, well, let's talk about the finish. The finish to me was great because these guys have beaten each other with everything they can find in every which way, you know, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Greg's going up to the second rope. He did it a couple times. He's come down and Piper just yanks him off the rope and proceeds to throttle him with the chain, you know, for 4 or 5 shots. And that was enough.
And then he also took, if you see it, he took the chain and wrapped up his legs. So when he was hitting him, and so that's that small attention to detail that we always talk about, especially on the show, is like storytelling in detail. It made sense. So he hit him a bunch of times with the chain. He was pretty beat up. If you've ever even been accidentally whipped with a chain, you know how hard it hurts. Imagine being whipped like you want to lose the match, and then he grabs the chain and bundles him up. Smart move.
Great move, great move. And he got the 3. And I thought, okay, Piper wins. Of course, it was a non-title match, so Valentine still stays the champion. But what happened after the match was amazing because Valentine did not lose his heat. Now, Piper got the win, he got his revenge, he got his payback, but then Valentine just was like, you know what? I'm going to beat the stuffing out of you, choke you to death, you know, whatever.
I'll take the dog chain off, and I'll just beat the crap out of it. Again, like you said, he got all of his heat back and then some, and then still. So, like, you're talking about you push both of them straight up, you know, in, like, the baby face factor and the heat factor. So this is why I say, you know, wrestlers should be paying attention, because this is the right way that it's okay to get face heat. We've talked about that, and it's very hard to do, but when done right, it's great. And especially as a heel, why not? So what? He pinned me because it was a fluke. I'm going to beat the crap out of him. He's the one that's leaving on a stretcher, not me. I might have got the loss, but he's going out on a stretcher.
And the record book showed that Piper got even, right? Exactly. But then again, Valentine didn't lose anything. Here's one of the biggest, I won't say the biggest, but one of the biggest takeaways from this match. At the end, with what they call, well, what Cornette calls the afterbirth, right? Which is kind of a weird term, but whatever happens after the match, when you see what's going on and Valentine's beating the stuffing out of Piper, right? Do you hear the crowd just giving him what for? Just giving him hell, giving him the blues. The crowd is hype. The crowd is furious. And that, when you say wrestlers should watch this was simple. No dives, no crazy high spots. There was one suplex the whole freaking match. He called it a souffle as well. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh, but absolutely. That's classic Garden Soy.
And he's like, there was one suplex. This was a fight, and it worked. And it worked not because of the gimmick and the dog collar, but it worked because of the story being told by the guys and the selling, the willingness to look vulnerable, the willingness to look weak, if you will, and then to go outside and get beat up outside. It was great. And the crowd was like, ah. There was one woman in particular with a very shrill voice. I don't know what she was saying, but she was making her feelings known in a way that I don't think I've heard anybody in any wrestling we watch today. Is that fair?
Oh, no, 100%. It's a lot of stuff. Again, we talk a lot about Cornette because he talks about how this was. There was a mixed crowd of people from everywhere from 8 to 80. And there was tons and tons of ladies and tons of guys. And they're screaming and yelling and grabbing and pawing and everything. And it's very different from the product today because, you know, those were the old smoke-filled arenas. And now it's a different product presented a different way. But, man, boy, oh, boy, were they into it. I mean, like when that kayfabe wall was up, you know, they talk about that they would try to stab you. They try to poke you. They put Drano and water guns and shoot you in the eyes with the Drano. I mean, like, we're talking about that kind of heat because they were like, they really thought that these guys were that bad and that they would do anything in their power to make sure that the babyface wins.
Which is awesome. Wow. And now I have to ask one question, Encyclopedia.
Yes, sir.
And this was the question I think they asked on the Cornette show a couple weeks ago. Is there any way that kind of heat could come back? Now that the curtain's been, you know, pulled and people kind of know what goes on behind the scenes, we got Toughen Up, we got the Performance Center, we see all the different documentaries, whatever. When people now know that it is a working business and not a shooting business, can we, or well, yes, us, which we fully intend to, can people bring that kind of heat back into it? Which, if you saw the rant yesterday, and I think you did, I was saying that there's no chase. There's no chase and there's no, hunt for the thing. Is that what's missing is the chase? Is that what's missing is the I'm going to get even kind of a thing? You think that is?
No. I think what it is like you said, you have to, let's just take the Cody example. Cody needs to lose the title to somebody. It could be the Murder Hawk. Essentially, from there, you have to, in the way to book this, you've got to have the Murder Hawk run through absolutely everybody, and not just the job guys, the good guys, because you're going to have to build all those guys up for him as you're building Cody up. I mean, you got to have that chase. It's got to be a chase. You've got to have something on the line. I mean, it was really great that Cody couldn't win the title, and then if he lost to Jericho, it's over with. Like, that happened too soon. If this happened like in a year, that would have been a better story. I mean, just, you've got to build that anticipation so that when you pay it off, it's like, okay, this was worth my time and investment. That's why I say about like Glam up in Oakland. They have great storytelling. It took them a year to crown their champion, Katarina. And for about 6 months of that, we thought Heather Monroe was going to be the champion because she had the 2 keys. But again, you build that anticipation through storytelling. I don't know what's going on. It was a stupid stage door with some stupid keys that they found. But guess what? There was story there. It meant something to have these. And it just proves that you could take any object. I could take this chip clip and I could make this the most important thing in the whole world, that people want to have this.
Yeah.
That's storytelling.
Yeah.
I gotta have it. Why? I don't know. I gotta have it because he has it. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you, dude. I completely agree. So this was a great match choice. It was great to go back in time and kind of take a look at this. And I think we're missing some of this action today. But it was a great match, and I'm excited about it.
Absolutely.
Oops, sorry.
So tomorrow, I think we're going to do a surprise. On June 12th, 2005, there was a seminal event that happened in the Manhattan Center at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Okay.
WWE decided to bring back ECW and have one last show, kind of bring it back for everybody. And yeah, I think we should watch ECW One Night Stand. It was 15 years to the day yesterday that it happened, and it is a seminal event.
Oh, I'm down, dude. I'm down. You told me about it a couple weeks ago, and I think we've been working on the schedule to get to this point. And so I don't think I know I haven't ever seen this. This is the I've seen it when we riot, right?
Yes. No. That's next year's. That's next year's.
That's next year. Okay. So this one, well, I'm down for whatever because ECW is awesome, and the old school, that room, that ballroom is freaking historic. And so I'm down. I'm 100% in. And I guess that's tomorrow, right?
That is tomorrow. We will start with the beginning of the show. And I'm going to tell you, it's a great opening match. Imagine Lance Storm versus Chris Jericho.
Oh, really? That's the match?
That's the first match of the show.
Yeah, I'm down. Hell yeah, I'm down for that. All right, so bring your butts back tomorrow. For more Make Me a Fan, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Ring the bell so you're notified of any and all new episodes. And make sure you follow us on social media at Make Me a Fan 316. And if you didn't watch this match between Piper and Valentine, you better click that link and watch because it's that damn important and it is that damn good. So until tomorrow, I guess that does it for us, right, Media?
Yes,
all right,
sir. We'll
see you guys tomorrow.